The fighting in Pokrovsk is chaotic and intense, but is Ukraine pushing back, trying to get their troops out from the pincer of the Russians? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's break down the updates in the end game of the battle for Pokrovsk. Now, of course, guys, if you want to see my reviews of uncensored combat footage, including stuff sent to me from units on the front line, and you want to support the channel, become a member at combatvetnews.com. Members get access to twice weekly uncensored combat videos and, of course, Q&As and more. So become a member. Link is in the description. Thanks to all you guys that do help us out. Now, according to one interview with a Ukrainian soldier, Russian troops are essentially fighting in every single corner of Pokrovsk. He said, according to one drone pilot, he said, quote, "The enemy is recorded in almost all quarters and areas of the city. They move in small groups of several fighters, which we detect through observation and neutralize with all available means, from FPV drones to drop munitions to artillery." Gus emphasized that Russian forces don't hold control of any single part of Pokrovsk. He said the situation is really unstable. Certain positions can change hands, but we cannot talk about stable enemy control over any part of the city right now. It's all a gray area. Now, according to Gus, Russian troops are making their greatest effort to secure the city's southern neighborhoods and pressing very hard from the west and from the northeast, where battles are continuing. They want to converge from two directions and close this pocket. He added that Russian forces are very far from achieving that goal thanks to Ukraine's defense forces, and we're going to talk about how exactly they have been pushing back. Now, Pokrovsk is seen as a strategic rail hub in the Donetsk region and a source of heavy fighting. Right. And according to the Ukrainian 7th Airborne Assault Corps, they said in an official statement, quote, "As a result of successful counterattacks, Ukrainian forces improved their tactical position in several districts in Pokrovsk, though the situation remained dynamic." Now, here's what I think is probably the more cogent assessment. And I've texted some of my contacts in Eastern Ukraine for sort of their assessment, and they agree that it is a very critical situation. You can see over the last 24 to 48 hours, what we have seen is a stabilization of this northern pincer movement. Again, this Rodonetsky, and while Russian forces reportedly are controlling more and more of Pokrovsk itself, it's the real objective is, again, for Ukrainian forces, I think, to conduct this kind of fighting withdrawal and not get caught in this pincer movement. Again, I think the assessment from the soldier there seems accurate, given that Russian forces can be as little as just 3 kilometers from each other. But this is, again, a gray area. And I think that's the emphasis here, is that the area that this map denotes as gray, the true gray area is probably everywhere. And it's one of the things he talked about, is that the static front line has been dissolving in favor of a, quote, gray area, where you have squads of 3 to 5 simply permeating into these areas. The problem is that this makes it very hard, actually, to conduct a meaningful withdrawal, because oftentimes you would have Ukrainian forces in a position withdrawing into Russian positions, right? Or potentially into friendly positions. Friendly positions could be fighting Russians, but have further Ukrainian positions in front of them. It's very hard to conduct these kinds of withdrawals. It's very hard to conduct the coordination necessary. And you can see, I think the broad Ukrainian strategy seems to be to crack open this northern pincer near Mirnohad and to get forces here, right? There's almost like a sub-pincer movement if you put stock in this, almost like a sub-pincer movement occurring here to try to cut off the Ukrainian forces in sort of the bottom pocket of the fighting. And you can see why it's so tough, because some of these are small villages with just very limited, right? If you want to get out of here, you've got to cross essentially an open field. And that is so dangerous. It's so much less dangerous to go from building to building, block to block. But even then, remember, building to building, block to block means there could be Russians in all of these buildings. There almost certainly are. It's a totally chaotic environment. It's going to be very difficult for Ukrainian armed forces to get their people out. But it's also very difficult for Russian forces to conduct a full-scale clearing operation. The level of drone activity is probably surreal. There's been a number of viral videos showing just how densely packed this pocket is with drones from both sides. And again, I think what you are seeing is part of this Ukrainian effort. Seems like the strategy is now, again, to free up a potential route out through this kind of northeastern portion of the city, through Mirnohad. Again, but it's pretty tough, right? Because you can see that roadways are limited, and there's really only one out through here. And one, as you know, in the era of the FPV, when you have just one way out, that is insufficient, because the ability of FPVs to stage ambush attacks, to stage continual observation, and simply launch FPVs and strike single roadways is just so great. It's so hard to handle logistically. So this is a chaotic and developing situation. I'm going to continue to report on it as best I can. But again, it is a extremely confusing situation, which again, Ukraine is saying it's halted this Russian portion north of Pokrovsk. But, you know, the corps commander of, again, the 7th recently said the situation was tense but not critical, that there are reinforcements deployed, but it's a fast-breaking and very dynamic battle. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for now. Thanks to GMAT Club, Henry Russier, James Porsche, Paul, and Peter Fucci, as well as all of our Lieutenant tier members. Go become a member. We're going to look at some of the footage from this fighting tomorrow, so you want to be a member for that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.